All right. Good morning. Welcome to March. I am Dr. Sarah Morrissey. I am an integrative health practitioner, health strategy coach, and a doctor of pharmacy. I work at the Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy, and this is why I get to come to this awesome platform to help answer any questions that people may have, all questions regarding health and wellness. And that's what we're here to do. We are here to educate and empower our listeners, our friends, our family, and anybody else that just wants to learn a little bit more about their body, about what's going on, and, how we can improve our day-to-day lives, day-to-day interactions, all of that. So I welcome all questions and comments. And if you've been here before, maybe shoot me a like or a wave or something, And once again, just grateful to be here. So I kind of like to check in, give a little update, what's going on. I've been doing this now since December, and I don't think it's any less nerve-wracking, right? Like, I had all sorts of topics to talk about today, and I've got quite a few questions to answer, which is great. But then I feel like I go off on a tangent and I want to learn more about something, and then I'm like, well, it's 9:00. Time to start educating. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, I had a question regarding obesity and just in general, kind of looking at the public. It's an endemic. It is not about shaming. It is not about looking good for the mirror. It is not about being a certain size, but it is literally about your biochemistry and the health and longevity of your body. And so I just, kind of want to throw that out there. And I looked up a few quick stats real quick. I think I'm going to go into depth on this maybe next week. So if you do have any more questions, comments, concerns about obesity and how it affects your own individual lives, your families, your friends, all of that. But then even on a larger topic, which I don't really love getting into, but it is the socioeconomic component and how it affects the world, the countries that we live in. And, I just kind of looked up a quick fact on the CDC today that in 2019 alone, there was over $173 billion in medical expenditures spent on obesity. And so that's a lot of money. And the fact that this endemic, I guess you could probably call it a pandemic, let's be honest, over 2 in 5 adults. So basically half, 50% of the population is considered obese. And when we learn that it's, and yes, we need to love our bodies, we need to do all these things, but if we really, truly love our bodies, we would do what is best for them, right? And so, and maybe this will help shift some mindsets, right? Because I know it's helped my mindset. I'm like, okay, so every fat cell in my body holds on to the environmental toxins that we are surrounded by, right? So it all kind of goes together. And so the more places we have to harbor the environmental toxins, the toxins that we consume, the foods that we consume that aren't really good foods, right? People that eat food out of packages and stuff like that, right? Our body just holds on to those things because it doesn't know what to do with it. Fat is actually a very important and helpful component of our body, right? We need it. We need it to protect our organs from trauma. We need it for every single cell in our body, right? That is what makes up the phospholipid bilayer of each cell. So it is super important, right? But keeping it at a healthy proportion in our body is most important, right? So if anything, that's kind of helped me, myself, I'm like, okay, I've always, you always want to look better, but feeling better is huge, right? And so it's all just part of it. But when you know that the biochemistry and the physiology of our body and how damaging it is to carry more adipose cells than we need to, when we're carrying more fat than our body needs, it is extremely damaging and detrimental to our health. And so that's why that's why I'm here. I'm here to educate and, share that it's not just about vanity and what we see on TV or what we don't see, but it's, and the fact that I guess we've normalized the larger body now in society. And once again, normal is not optimal, right? We're here to help you live a more optimal life. So anyway, I think I will go into more depth on this in some coming Q&As. And so more questions, all of that, and if you've got, success stories, how it's changed your life, right? How, because I did a quick search on the National Institute of Health, so NIH, health risks of being overweight. They listed 16 things right off the bat. Okay. Now these 16 things, that's just the general topic, right? It goes into hundreds of things that it affects, right? So let's start with type 2 diabetes. We've talked a lot about that on this show, on all the shows that Janet and Sean do. It is preventable. It is reversible. It is, we can fix that, right? But obesity is a huge contributor to that, right? On the next one is high blood pressure, right? Our body's carrying around more mass than it can handle. The heart has to work harder. Obviously we're not consuming foods that are optimizing our body. So therefore, everything has to work harder. So high blood pressure, what does high blood pressure lead to? Heart disease, stroke. What's the number one killer in, I'm going to say North America? Cardiovascular disease, right? So all totally preventable. So it just helps to increase the awareness, right? And it's not scare tactics. These are facts, right? These are just straight up facts, and there's no bias, there's no shaming, there's no nothing. But when we start taking care of our health and start thinking about living more optimally, that's when we're going to see the change, right? We're going to see these changes in these numbers. These numbers affect our entire economy, right? And I don't know enough about that, but I know enough about that to say just that, right? So, but it's extremely expensive to be overweight. So, your risk of stroke, metabolic syndrome, fatty liver disease. I went over some liver things a couple weeks ago, talking about our liver enzymes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I was reading somewhere where, obesity and the strain that it puts on your liver is equal to a severe alcoholic's liver status, right? And we all know that's not good. So one more reason there, cancers are totally correlated with obesity. Inflammation, right? Inflammation leads to all the things. So breathing problems. This was an interesting one. I had a client the other day, has been on a weight loss journey, had to go on a weight loss journey in order to get a knee replaced, right? Why did the knee fall apart, right? Because we are overweight. And so she had to lose the weight in order to get the knee replacement. Okay, well, that's great. But once she got to the number that the doctor said that she had to lose, she stayed there. She plateaued. Her reason for that was because she didn't have a big enough goal anymore. Okay. And now the gal, she was like 5 foot tall, and she had gotten her weight down to 250 pounds. Okay, well, great. We've lost 50 pounds. That's a huge success, right? Because that's not easy for anybody. But the fact that she was just complacent there now, right? Oh, well, I got a new knee. I've got nothing else to, I don't have another big goal. And so I asked a little bit more, well, what, her chief complaint of being on a CPAP machine, which is a breathing machine that helps keep your airways open, make sure you get enough oxygen for people with sleep apnea, right? So that you're getting good oxygen while you sleep, because we know that that is extremely important. So by the end of our conversation, I said, well, what if we got a goal of getting off the CPAP machine? Because that seems to be a very large obstacle in your life. You don't like the one you've got, right? The insurance company's making you stay with a certain one, right? So once again, all ties in with how we're being controlled by the insurance companies. But, and she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if you lose more weight, you will not need that CPAP machine. And it took a few times for me to say that. But sleep apnea is directly correlated with our weight and our, and yes, there's other things, deviations, etc. But in general, sleep apnea is due to inflammation, in the body, in the airways, and then that extra weight of the adipose tissue, because adipose tissue is dead weight, right? It is, it doesn't contribute to how our muscles and joints function. It's really just dead weight. And so if we can decrease that, well, we can help a lot of our breathing problems. So that was just kind of another thing that I was really kind of proud to share with my patient, because it gave her another goal, right? So if you're on CPAP machines, if you have breathing problems, right, it is connected to too much adipose tissue, too much fat on your body. So that's that one. I'm only halfway through the list of health risks of being overweight, right? So I'm just going to keep kind of cruising through them. And this is food for thought for all of you viewers out there, so that you can maybe think of somebody, yourself, a friend, some family, right, where you can share this information. And it's coming from a full-on scientific, physiological, biochemical fact, right? It's not opinions. It's not subjective. It's not shaming. It's just facts. And when we actually look at the facts, I feel like we're able to take care of the root problem a lot easier. So, other things: osteoarthritis, gout, gallbladder issues, pancreatic issues, which also kind of stems back to our diabetes, kidney diseases, pregnancy problems, fertility issues, sexual function problems. And then last, not least, just on this list was mental health disorders or mental health problems, right? So we all know everything is connected. And so, but just being aware, finding, and this also goes back to finding your why, right? Because the vanity and the subjective, and I just want to look better, quite often that's very superficial in the why, right? And so when we actually dig a little deeper and go into having the whys of, my heart will be healthier, I will live longer, I will be able to pick up my grandchildren, I can pick up my dog, I can, if I need to jump over a fence, I can jump over a fence, whatever that is, that's, kind of find your bigger whys. And first and foremost, it should be for your inner health, right? So there's a lot of things that can be done. I know I thought I was just going to talk about this for about 5 minutes, but here we are. It's so important. And so if you've got any comments or concerns, please share them. And then please share this education with your friends and family. And so that's the best way to get this information out there, because it's no, it's not a hidden secret. It's not a hidden fact. I mean, it just really is a fact, right? If any of you go out to the grocery store today, you will see that the CDC and their facts about basically 50% of US adults are obese. You might even think that number is low. So I think in order to help yourselves, help your friends, help your family, help your country, right? Like let's all kind of get together and start putting our health first, and go with that. So that's that little spiel, I guess. I could keep going, but I'm going to pause on that one for now. I just kind of want to recap some of the things that I've gone over in the last couple of weeks. And so for the people that have been watching, if you're new to the show, go ahead and check back on the previous recorded live Q&As. Lots of good information. And I know I've certainly enjoyed going down and educating myself more, because I'm also on the journey, right? Like I am not immune to any of the things that I talk about. And I think a lot of this comes from my own journey of, okay, well, how do I improve my thyroid? How do I improve my hormones? Is my iron off? Is my thyroid off? And how do I go about doing those things, right? None of us are perfect. And I don't think I ever claim to be, but it's a journey. And once we get over one hurdle, guess what? Another one comes up, right? And so that's where you have to, the old cliche of loving the process. And so that's where I'm at. So we've gone over some iron deficiency stuff, talking about iron and how it's correlated with thyroid. So for all of you people out there that have been on, say, thyroid medications a long time, not seeing the results, look deeper into your iron as well, and making sure that you're getting the full spectrum of labs done on your iron, right? So your iron, making sure you're getting serum iron, your ferritin, your TIBC, the transferrin saturation, things like that. Just because that will give a better picture as to what's going on, why your body might be saying that it's low in iron, but really you've got a lot circulating, and vice versa, right? Inflammation is also a key driver in some of those levels as well. So things to ask for: talk to your provider, talk to your doctor. I do a lot of at-home functional medicine labs that can be very they totally tell the picture, right? They get to the root cause of what is out of balance. And so not curing, not treating, and diagnosing any diseases, but actually finding what the imbalance is. And when you work from that standpoint, I find that it's a lot easier to comprehend, and you don't just get tagged with a label. It's like, oh, well, I have this and this out of balance. I'm going to work to balance that up, whether it's through diet, whether it's through some supplements, if we're not able to get it out of our diet. And as always, the number one key component to living a healthier life is making sure that you're getting adequate rest, quality sleep. Always the number one thing, right? The sleep will, and nervous system, helping out your nervous system. So when we get all of those things in alignment, a lot of the other steps become a lot easier. And so feel free to ask me more questions on that. I feel like I go down I'm able to do a lot of those things. I've experienced a lot of those things and still working through that, right? And so always working on nervous system regulation, and sleep. Turns out I've learned that I can sleep really well now. And so that's good. Anywho, so that was kind of iron, thyroid, looking at our thyroid labs, making sure you're getting a free T3, free T4, and the TSH. Historically, practitioners only give you the TSH, and they base your whole thyroid function off of one number. That's not the way to do it. So, and you as the patient have the authority to ask for any labs that you want, right? It is your body. You can ask for whatever information you want to know about your body. Your provider may go, oh, you don't need that. What do you need that for? Oh, this and all that. The answer of I want to know is good enough and should be good enough, right? And so it's your body. You should be allowed to know anything you want about it. So be strong with that. And if you have questions on that, let me know, because I will certainly be your biggest cheerleader, or I can help you get the labs that you need as well. So touched on liver enzymes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and then just keeping an eye on liver enzymes, right? Inflammation is key as to why they may increase. Also, extra adipose tissue or too much alcohol consumption. So alcohol in and of itself is a neurotoxin. It's a fact. It is a neurotoxin. 1 glass or 10 glasses is still a neurotoxin. And so I highly recommend not drinking alcohol. You know, I spent a lot of my life consuming alcohol because I enjoyed it. It's yummy, you know, all of those things. But yeah, it's really nice to live an alcohol-free life. And once again, learning how to reset the nervous system, right? Why do people smoke cigarettes? Why do people drink alcohol? It's a way to suppress emotions. It's a way to suppress stress, or so you think, but really it actually adds to it. And so learning how to regulate your nervous system without using neurotoxins and carcinogens is very powerful. And I highly recommend you try doing it. One of the main way that I've worked on that is with breath work. And so if you can find a breathwork class, or if you have questions about it, you can certainly ask me more. And there's so much information out there and access to things like that. So breathwork, meditation, and rest. The key things to resetting your nervous system. And when we reset our nervous system, our body's in better alignment. When our body's in better alignment, it functions way more optimally than it ever has. So I highly encourage people to try that, enjoy it. And it's a fun challenge, right? Especially when it's a challenge that betters yourself. So I say, go for it. Let's see, what else have I talked about? Well, actually, I did have another question last night from one of my clients. Went on vacation, nice, warm out there, used sunscreen, and came back with a massive rash wherever she had put sunscreen on. So I don't know what that tells you, but it tells me that it's not an allergy to the sunscreen. It's the fact that it really is just toxic. There's a lot of assumptions that go along with that. You know, our liver is not processing well, right? Our liver is full. If you've heard me talk about the rain barrel effect, Dr. Stephen Cabral has trademarked that, but the whole rain barrel, right? If you think about a rain barrel, it collects water, collects water, collects water. Well, if you don't empty that rain barrel, it overflows. And so when we talk about an overflowing rain barrel, what is the overflow? Diabetes, fatigue, exhaustion, any illness, any symptom, right? And that quite often, the overflowing rain barrel is what most of our lives have looked like, right? That's the normal living the American dream, whatever you want to call that, right? And so when our rain barrel is full, just like when your fuel filter is clogged up, things don't work right. Things don't operate right. And so when our liver is clogged and we keep exposing it to more things that it can't process, because its job is to filter, but if the filter is clogged, it can't process any more things. The skin, being the largest organ of the body, is quite often where those things show up. So if you're prone to skin rashes, eczema, psoriasis, all of those things, your rain barrel is full, right? Your liver is exhausted. And so we need to work on helping that out, right? So you can do just different detoxes. People are automatically going to think, oh, a liver cleanse. Liver cleanses are very strong. You need to prepare your body for something like that in order for it to be fully effective. So I highly recommend doing like a functional medicine detox, helping support the liver, easing the body, helping it on its, making good choices as far as digestion is concerned, helping the body out in order to empty the rain barrel. And so anyway, so back to the sunscreen thing, right? So if we've got other underlying root issues of, say, leaky gut, liver's backed up, it's not processing the toxic effects of the sunscreen, welcome to the world of rashes. I've lived it. It's that my skin is my number one telltale sign of something isn't right and you need to detox, right? And so sunscreen, I'm not a fan of it. Never have been, right? If it really prohibited cancer from occurring, the rates of skin cancer should have gone down significantly by now. Instead, they keep rising and they keep promoting all this sunscreen. So if you do need to go out in the sun, go out in the early morning, right? If you're out in the heat of the day, be covered, have a nice light shirt, whatever. And actually, especially if you're working out there, you actually stay cooler if you're covered out in the heat of the sun. And so I think that's important. So if you're on vacation, have a nice cover, lay out in the sun for a few minutes, cover up, get some more sun, cover up, right? So just, be kind to your body in that way. If you do need an actual sunscreen, I would recommend using like straight up zinc oxide, right? If you can get zinc oxide powder, put it in some coconut oil. It's not going to be the prettiest, but it's an actual barrier. So it's not a chemical that really gets absorbed into the body. And so it's an actual physical barrier to the UV rays. So that would be my choice there. But other than that, we need the sun, right? And if the more skin you can expose to the sun, especially in the morning hours, say before 11 a.m., the better your vitamin D levels are going to be. The better, all of those, the light waves and those on all those different wavelengths from sun up, till midday are so important for your circadian rhythm. So if you can get up, get outside, see the sun first thing in the morning, guess what? Your sleep's going to be better later at night because you're honoring your body's natural rhythms. So, that was a really good sunscreen conversation that I had last night. And so hopefully I shared that information decently for you today. But if not, this is the opportunity to ask some questions. If you have questions later on, please message them to me and I will get them answered either directly or I will bring them up next week. And I look forward to that discussion. And thank you all. Aubrey, thanks for being one of my biggest cheerleaders. I look forward to visiting with her some more. She's been on some fun journeys as well with resetting the nervous system, right? We've got some friends doing some really cool things in Arizona, different retreats. And I highly recommend people go and, dive into yourself, right? Because once we heal ourselves, we can heal others. And so that's pretty fun. That is my journey, right? Healing myself so that I can help heal others. So it's all part of the process. I highly recommend you continue to keep educating and empowering yourselves. Listen to whatever you can, right? Learn as much as you can about your own body and help yourself live optimally, right? So I want to live life to the fullest, live until we die, right? So I am Dr. Sarah Morrissey, integrative health practitioner with Winning Wellness, health strategy coach, doctor of pharmacy for Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy, where we specialize in bioidentical hormone replacement and specialty compounding. And so thank you all for joining me. It was a pretty good crowd today. So thank you. Have an awesome rest of your week. Make your day great.